Democrats in Colorado are questioning the use of temporary holding facilities by ICE in our state. A recent report by a progressive news outlet claimed that these are secret holding rooms where people languish for weeks. ICE says these facilities are not secret, they're not new, and they've not been used for long-term detention. Here's Angeline McCall.
A recent article finds there are, quote, 9 secret ICE holding facilities, according to the Colorado Times Recorder, publishing this story last week.
According to the federal data, we analyzed more than 2,800 people were held in those 9 facilities, one of those 9 facilities between January and October of last year alone.
Columnist Logan M. Davis says the data was collected from FOIA litigation through the Deportation Data Project, showing people are held in ICE offices in places like strip malls or buildings.
The oldest was a 91-year-old. The youngest was a 1-year-old girl.
ICE documents obtained by Davis show ICE's policy is to not hold people for more than 72 hours at these sites. They found people were held for weeks.
One of the most concerning things we found was that there is this culture seemingly around these facilities of complete disregard for ICE's own internal rules.
Colorado representatives have since noticed. Democratic Representative Joe Neguse posted this video after visiting a site in Glenwood Springs.
We just tried to conduct some oversight here. No one is coming to the door, looks to be empty, no one's answering the phone.
Democratic Representative Brittany Patterson shared she is demanding answers in a Twitter post. ICE responded saying these are not secret holding rooms, that they're sub-offices, adding they've been open and operating for 15 years. They are categorically denying that these are secret facilities.
If they're going to do that, what they should then do is open these facilities for inspection from our congressional delegation, any other overseers attempting to provide oversight, and show us all what is going on in there.
We did reach out to ICE for an official statement on this. We did not receive anything back, Kyle, but for a little bit of context for people, we've seen ICE use these facilities in the past. You might remember our reporting about the family in Durango that was detained. That was an ICE holding facility that they were in, and then they were transferred to a larger facility. So we know that these are being used. I think what we want clarity on it, right, is how often people are being held there, how many people, and then certainly the time frame. How often is it more than 72 hours?
Right, yeah, because what protesters surrounded that one in Durango. That was like a big deal when they surrounded that facility that some people might have not have even known was in their community. Yeah, all right, Angeline McCall, thank you. There are more than 25,000 Coloradans without power as it gets dark tonight after this day of high winds and worry about wildfires on the Front Range. Some of those outages we know could take hours to resolve because crews have to manually inspect the lines before they restore power. It was brownout conditions along Highway 93 at the base of the foothills in Jeffco and Boulder County earlier today. That is nasty stuff. Colorado State Patrol also closed down parts of I-25 and I-70 after semis tipped in the wind. It was really ripping up in northern Colorado and into Wyoming. In Fort Collins, the Colorado State Campus and City Hall were both closed down this afternoon. There were safety concerns about the high winds and trees coming down. Neighborhood just north of Fort Collins had a scare after a small fire started near Terry Lake, west of Highway 287. People living in the area were told to evacuate, but since they've been allowed to come back home, no structures or homes were damaged, and there were no injuries. Meteorologist Chris Bianchi's along, and, well, as we say, as advertised today.
Yeah, and Kyle, to your point, that Terry Lake fire, I did not like the look of that because you were talking about 60-plus mile-an-hour winds in the vicinity of that fire as it first sparked. So, personally, when I saw that, I said, uh-oh. But thank goodness firefighters able to put that one out. Very grateful for that. Larimer, Weld County is getting the brunt of the wind today. Northern Colorado, the Cheyenne Ridge basically acting as a wall. So that's why you're seeing northern Colorado getting the brunt of that wind today. South Boulder, 85-mile-an-hour wind. DIA delays all day because those winds are coming out of the west, means they can only use one runway to land, and so 48-mile-an-hour peak gusts there at the airport, but that is leading to big issues out there right now. Still gusty, especially northern Colorado. Again, the Cheyenne Ridge essentially acting as a wall as those winds mostly coming out of the northwest, and that is why northern Colorado getting the brunt of the wind right now. High wind warning continues till noon tomorrow. Now, what's going to happen over the next couple of hours? Fort Collins down through Denver, the worst of the wind will be done in the next hour or two. Those winds will retreat into the foothills, but still that fire danger in place for tonight and tomorrow. Northeast Colorado, we're going to have that fire weather warning for tomorrow. And we're going to see it again, by the way, for us on Saturday. No doubt about that. But next couple of hours, notice these 30, 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds here along the I-25 corridor. Those will retreat into the foothills over the next couple of hours, and the result will be that the foothills, it stays windy for you basically all night long. I know. It's been a rough go for you, but in the Denver metro area, the majority of us, it will be a lot calmer. Potential impact alert for more wind, you guessed it, on Saturday. And then next week, historic March heat. Don't want to overlook this because we may be talking about temperatures in the mid-80s in Denver, Colorado. In fact, some models, and I buy it, showing us close to 90 degrees in Denver at the end of next week and next weekend. An historic March heat wave likely just around the corner.
Well, we appreciate all your work on this today, Chris, and we appreciate the work of your 9 News Weather Impact Team colleague, Corey Reppenhagen. So Chris was the indoors cat today, right? He was the house cat, and we all know that Corey Reppenhagen, he's a barn cat, right? He prefers to be outdoors, catching his own food. Now, some of you may say that is cruel to have him out there along Highway 93 getting, braided by these winds. But this is where he likes to be, right, Chris? This is like when you have a husky out in the snow, right? They're happy. They want to be there.
And to be honest about it, basically most meteorologists want to be out in that, right?
Sure.
We don't get into this to be talking about, sunshine, wearing a suit and tie inside. We want to be out in it, right? If there's a tornado, there's any wild weather, there's 3 feet of snow. I want to be where Corey Reppenhagen and his beard are, which is usually smack dab in the middle of whatever active weather is going on.
Yeah, I don't know if you want that face scrub from the dirt on Highway 93, but that is complimentary. All right, Bianchi, Reppenhagen, thank you both today. There are a lot of bad jobs in Colorado, but being the chairperson of the Colorado Republican Party has got to be right up there. Party Chair Britta Horn said this afternoon she will resign after a series of no confidence votes and lawsuits among party leaders. She becomes the 6th consecutive one-term or less Colorado GOP chair, as grand old infighting has taken over the party that has been shut out in recent statewide races. Horn is also a volunteer fire chief and the author of the book Drinking from a Fire Hose: 5 Essential Tools to Not Get Soaked. It's been more than a decade since there was any real stability in the leadership of the Colorado GOP. The last 2-term chair, you got to go back to 2015 and Ryan Call, who was later disbarred for taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from a pro-Trump super PAC. No agreement in the U.S. Senate today on funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats are still demanding restrictions on President Trump's mass deportations. The resulting partial government shutdown is about to enter its 2nd month. Thousands of federal workers are stuck in the middle of this, including TSA agents. They've got 1 partial paycheck so far, and they're set to miss a full paycheck this weekend. TSA agents cannot receive gifts and cash from passengers. Don't try to slip them a 20 when they pat you down. So DIA's collecting gas and grocery gift cards in $20 or $10 increments. There are drop boxes out at the airport. The measles outbreak in Broomfield is growing, and state public health leaders have confirmed 2 more cases as they look at a 3rd. So far, all the cases are tied to the outbreak that started at 2 schools in town. Cases began popping up at Broomfield High and Broomfield Heights Middle School last week. These new cases, if confirmed, could bring the outbreak up to 10 total patients. The state health department says all the new cases involve people who live in the same households as previously confirmed cases. The 2 new confirmed cases are both in unvaccinated Coloradans, people already under quarantine and not suspected of exposing anybody else. The 3rd suspected case under investigation is a potential breakthrough case, meaning a person who is vaccinated and somebody who is not under quarantine. The state health department is also expanding the list of possible exposure sites. They have added to it the Bout Time Pub and Grub in Arvada on Tuesday night. About time you should monitor symptoms through April 1st. Denver's most troubled hotel homeless shelter is trying to start over. They've rebranded the place to Aspen Wellness Village, and they've hired a new group of people to run it. Most of them understand what people in the shelter are going through because they were once homeless themselves. Our Mark Salinger has that.
Without people believing in me, I never would be in this position right now.
Tyler Thompson wants to introduce himself.
People need that love. Yeah, people need that love.
At 36 years old, he's the new director of the city's largest and most troubled hotel homeless shelter off Quebec. He thinks his team can succeed where others have struggled.
Because I understand what our guests are going through.
To understand why,
Formerly incarcerated.
you have to know his story.
August 9th, 2014, the early morning of that, I was driving from the bar and I got in a car crash and unfortunately a young man lost his life. Shocked me, still gets me to this day. But
He served about 10 years
Yeah.
of a 15 to life sentence for second-degree murder while driving drunk.
can't rectify what I did, but I'm for sure gonna make sure that every choice that I make and every person I come in contact with from here on out, I leave a positive impact.
Tyler wanted to show us around what he now calls the Aspen Wellness Village. He works for Urban Alchemy, a national organization that just got a $30 million contract from the city of Denver to operate the former hotel through 2028.
We're gonna make sure that we do our best to make sure that you don't stay where you're at, but you're moving towards that long-term stability.
But the space comes with baggage. It used to be operated by the Salvation Army. When it first opened in 2024, the shelter recorded nearly 100 911 calls per month here, 3 to 4 every single day. Dozens of overdoses, domestic violence calls, assaults, even 2 homicides. Urban Alchemy took over on January 1st.
If you don't feel safe, all you're thinking about is survival.
Denver police data shows there's been 102 911 calls to the location since the beginning of the year, an average of about 1.5 per day. But in the last 7 days, police have only been called to the shelter 4 times. Tyler says things are moving in the right direction.
This is not trash, and this is treasure, man. This is gold. The individuals here, they have so much to offer to the world.
Tyler started working with Urban Alchemy while he was living on Skid Row in Los Angeles after getting paroled.
They actually love the skills that I developed while I was incarcerated and how it can translate out here into the real world.
More than 90% of the employees that now run the hotel have been homeless or incarcerated before.
We're here to change that narrative.
Tyler says that experience will change lives.
And you're gonna see results out of this world. And I truly believe that.
One of the first things that Tyler and his team did was not allow people living in the hotel shelter to have key cards to their own rooms. They took them away. Now people have to be let into their rooms by staff members stationed on each floor. They say that allows staff to create better relationships with people and check in on them constantly, Kyle. They say it's about safety.
So these Urban Alchemy folks, they're also the ones doing the street teams.
Yeah, exactly. They have people who are formerly homeless, then go back onto the streets, try and get people services in that way as well.
All right, Mark Salinger, thank you. Danielle Derinsky's back with a brand new conspiracy theory. We'll ask if she has evidence of a Democratic election clerk meddling in her recent loss. And college dining halls not usually known for fine dining until today when a James Beard recognized chef showed up on campus. That's next. Hot new conspiracy theory just dropped. At least that's what it looks like, because the person claiming election meddling in Colorado has a history of offering unsubstantiated election-related claims. And former Republican Aurora City Councilman Danielle Derinsky is not offering any evidence for her new claim either.
I don't like to lose. I don't take kindly to that.
One of Colorado's most prominent and outspoken Republicans is still talking about her upset loss last year. And former Aurora Councilwoman Danielle Derinsky is now suggesting, without offering evidence, that election meddling by a Democratic election clerk could have played a role in her defeat.
I also heard that Joan Lopez was sending out text messages to folks who hadn't returned their ballots. Now, I didn't return my ballot until the very end, up until election day. I didn't return my ballot. I didn't get a text message asking me if I was going to return my ballot. So maybe she was only sending out text messages to one political party. I'm not sure.
When we asked Derinsky for evidence that Arapahoe County Clerk Joan Lopez was sending voting reminders to Democrats and not Republicans, Derinsky told me, quote, "All I said was what I was told. I never said I had proof." Clerk Lopez called Derinsky's claim a serious accusation that is not supported by evidence. Lopez said her office did not send text message reminders to vote to any voters. The Colorado Secretary of State's office has what's called the ballot track system. That notifies voters once their ballot has been received. The office says it did not send out reminders to vote in the 2025 Aurora municipal election. It's a system that Derinsky could learn more about if she decides to run for Secretary of State, one of the many possible options she says have been suggested for her political future.
I have had all kinds of things thrown at me. I have told that I should take over being the state party chair temporarily. I have told that I should run for Secretary of State. I should run for my House district seat. I've been told I should have my own radio program.
In the run-up to the 2024 election, Jurinski shared claims that Venezuelan migrants were supposedly being fast-tracked through naturalization classes within months of arrival so that they could vote in the American election. Similarly, when 9 News asked Jurinski for evidence of those claims, she didn't provide any.
Instead of just shoving it in your face and using it as fuel, tasting something you haven't tasted before, asking a question.
Rather than just grabbing a quick bite between classes, CU is offering some students the opportunity to pull up a seat and enjoy a meal cooked by an award-winning chef. Remember, you can taste our home cooking every weeknight streaming on 9 News Plus at 6 p.m. and next is a podcast wherever you get those. College dining at CU Denver looked a little different today as students lined up for a chance to taste food crafted by one of Colorado's most celebrated chefs. Our Byron Reed stopped by.
Food brings people together.
It's so important that food is the center of almost everything.
For Chef Caroline Glover,
Hi!
it's an experience she wants to share.
We've kind of come together and prepped 3 different meals, and hopefully the college students love it.
Glover is an award-winning chef based in Colorado.
I won a James Beard Award for the Mountain Region.
That's cooking up an appetite for the culinary arts.
To give them access to a different style of food that maybe they wouldn't have had another time.
She's serving up her creations on the campus of CU Denver, taking part in a program that connects students with fine dining.
So the James Beard Foundation and Sodexo are partnering up with the university to make, a different meal experience for the students. Thank you. Enjoy.
The James Beard Foundation dining program brings top-tier chefs to campuses and is serving more than 20 universities across the country, one meal at a time.
Instead of just shoving it in your face and using it as fuel, tasting something you haven't tasted before, asking a question, I think that it helps you culturally all across the board.
Glover is working alongside CU Denver executive chef Simon Mwanza as part of the larger movement.
Every meal we try to have at least a balanced diet. As a company, we're also looking at elevating our plant-based eating so that we introduce that healthy eating in campus life as well.
Students nibbled on items like kale salad and pork schnitzel to elevate their food experience.
It helps us also elevate just different cuisine out there.
The hope is that students will make a connection with elevated dining and find inspiration that comes served on a plate.
My hope is that people put down their phones, enjoy a meal, conversation, but it's also just supporting the local community.
For next,
it's not just about going to campus, but also about great food.
Enjoy.
I'm Byron Reed.
That's cool. They weren't feeding Maryland pork schnitzel at the University of Florida. No, okay, yeah. They weren't doing it at Ithaca College either. I mean, we were so cheap we don't even have like a little chop or anything else to do. Back with your feedback next. So this isn't feedback about the show. This is actually feedback about some of our fellow Coloradans. But I love this note that I got today from Dan. I wanted to read it to you. So Dan works for Argus. They're like the event people. You always see them at the stadiums in the polo shirts that say Argus or whatever. So Dan says he was working the Colorado High School basketball tournament, the Lewis Palmer Silver Creek game, which said it was a great game. Lewis Palmer led and then lost the game. So it was a really tough game for them. But he said that there were 4 Lewis Palmer students who stayed behind to clean up their whole side of the sideline afterwards. He said, it was unforgettable for me, made my day. They demonstrated love and respect by their actions. That is really cool. Thank you for sharing, Dan, and thanks to those kids.